Hi guys, Ben Hurley here, and this will be our first video tutorial for designing our own 3D models for 3D printing. So what I'd like to do is to get started. We're going to be using Sketchup for doing our 3D models, and what I'd like to do is to do it in a bit more of a project-based strategy. Rather than going through all of the features and functions and tools and focusing on those, I want to just design some models and just sort of take you through the process step by step and explain all the tools and what I'm doing as I go, so you can see how you might approach designing an actual thing rather than just using a bunch of random tools. So let's dive straight in. I'll go to the web screen. There's my site. Let's go over to sketchup.com. Okay, now see that house there? That was designed in SketchUp. A lot of what SketchUp is designed for is doing architectural drawings and 3D rendering and 2D plans and things, but it can do just about any kind of 3D modeling as well. We can get started by clicking on Try SketchUp. It'll take you to select some plans, but what we want is the free version. So we'll go over to the for personal projects, and underneath the free web only option we can go start modeling. Yours will likely ask you to create an account, sign up. I've already done that. So when I click on start modeling, it'll take me straight to my account. So it takes a few minutes, so I've just opened it up already over here. Okay, you can see I've got a few models already going. Then the first one we're going to do is this house one, and I'm going to start again from scratch, so I'll create a new file. Don't save what I did before. Let's not worry about that. Okay, now here's a happy looking fellow. He's there for perspective, so you can get an idea of the size you're working with. We don't really need that, so I'll click and delete. Right, so these lines here are our axes, like X, Y, Z. We've got a green, a red, and a blue axes. Now, probably the first thing to get into would be moving around. We've got a couple of different things we can do, and actually it might help if we draw something first to get a bit of perspective. So I'll click on the Create a Rectangle tool. You can see on your palette over here, when you click a tool, it's actually a little sub-menu of a few different tools. So we've got a few different things to choose from there. There's our rectangle tool. I'm just going to start with the origin. That's where all the axes converge. And I'm just going to pull away. And I'm not really bothered how big it is right now. I'm just going to click and create a rectangle. Okay, now if I wanted to draw something way over here, there's a couple of things I can do. Down the bottom here, we've got our moving around and viewing options. We've got a little hand tool. We can just drag our view around and pan around with the camera sideways like that. We've got an orbit tool, so if we click and drag, we can orbit all the way around and have a look at underneath and left and right around like that. And there's also a zoom tool, but I tend to use I'm using a laptop with a trackpad, so I use the 2-finger gesture to zoom in and out like that. And the neat thing about zooming is that you can, if I put my cursor over here and zoom in, it zooms in over there. I can zoom out and I can zoom in over here instead. So I don't tend to use the hand really. I tend just to do the zooming to move from place to place, and then use the orbit tool to rotate around when I need to. So that's how I like to look around the 3D models. Right, now let's get rid of that rectangle because that's likely far too big. So I'll just, whenever you want to select something, you have to come up here and select the select tool. It's a bit funny, but you get used to it. Click and drag, select all that, delete. Okay, now to make our house, I sort of figured out how I want to do it already. So I'm going to go with my rectangle, and I'm going to make it 2 centimeters by 3 centimeters, which in designing we like to talk in millimeters. So I'm going to go 20 millimeters by 30 millimeters. Okay, so it's almost impossible to get the exact measurements you want by clicking, dragging, and then clicking again. If you have a look at this dimensions box down here, well, you might not be able to see that because I'm probably in the way, but in the bottom right hand corner down here there's a dimensions box, and I can see I want my house to be wider than it is tall, and I can see that it's the big dimension first and then the short dimension second. So I'm just going to go ahead, before I click in place, I'm going to type the dimensions that I want. I want 30, 20, enter. and it's made it to scale, and it's a very small thing, so I'm zooming in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in until it looks sensible. Alright, now I want a bit of a more of a top-down view, so I'm going to grab my orbit tool and orbit around. I'm going to zoom out from the top, zoom in more sort of here and get it a bit more centered. You can see after a bit of practice you can get pretty good at centering what you're looking at by using the zoom tool and where you put your mouse. Okay, zoom in a bit more here. Great, now I want to add a roof. Okay, now I've got nothing to sort of click on here or no points anywhere to create my roof, so I'm going to get my tape measure, and the tape measure can measure things that are already there. So if I click on this point here, see how it snaps, I can measure this side, which is 30 mils. I can measure this side, which is 20. I can measure the diagonal and figure out what that is. It's about 36 mil. Okay, but what you can also do is you can click somewhere around the middle of the line and drag out a guideline. Okay, now that's just a line that we can use to snap to draw with. So I'm going to make sure it's going along the green axis. You can see how it's sort of guessing where it wants me to put it. So that one is actually going straight up towards me, going up away from the screen, following the blue axis. And this one's going the direction I want, following along the green axis. And I'm going to make that 15 millimeters away. Actually, that looks a bit tall. I'm going to get Command Undo. I'll try 10 millimeters. Yeah, that looks a bit more sensible to me. Okay. Right, now I'm going to draw a bit of a triangle for the top, so I'm going to grab the pencil tool. I can do squiggly lines as well, but mostly I like to do straight pencils. Now I want to come out from the side a bit first. See how it's snapping? It's helping me to make my line connect right on that corner, so I'm going to click there. I'm going to come out following the red axis, and I'm going to type that I want it to come out 6 millimeters. That seems like a good number. Now it's automatically thinking that I want to keep drawing another line, which I do. Now I want to point, I want to find the middle point up here. I don't have a guideline for the middle point, but SketchUp's pretty clever. If I come down here, it finds the midpoint for me, and then if I drag up, it remembers that midpoint, and then it snaps on my guideline in line with the midpoint along the green axis. So I can click there, that's my midpoint. Now let's see if it's clever enough to do this. I can sort of do the same thing here, but I can only control the distance of this line that I'm drawing. I can't type in the distance of this line here. So I'm going to click Escape to get out of drawing that. I'm going to draw this little line here going along the red axis, 6 millimeters, and then I'll connect up over there, and that looks pretty good. Alright, now for starters, I don't want two separate shapes. I want one border. So I've gone to my select tool. I'm going to select this line here. Notice how it doesn't go all the way to the ends. It only goes from these intersections, and I can delete that to turn this into one big area. Cool, I can select it, I can unselect it, I can select that line or that line. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this guideline for now. Select it and delete it. Right, now it's time to turn this into a 3D shape. This is the cool bit. I'm going to orbit around so we can see it in 3D a bit better. Now the way we turn this flat drawing into a 3D object is we use the push-pull tool. Okay, it locks onto the surface area, we click and we drag, and it pushes it up into 3D space. That's pretty cool. Now I'll make it 10 millimeters thick. Okay, that looks quite good. And I'm going to go back to drawing on the face because I want to give this a bit more detail. I'm going to give it some doors and windows and things. Right, so let's see, what do we want to do? We want the door to be in the middle, so I'm going to find the midpoint. Let's I've just clicked on that side there, and I'm going to drag out. I could drag out to the point there, or I could find the midpoint along here. You'll be able to find the midpoint of any line like that. Okay, now I don't want to go any closer than a millimeter, let's say, on each edge. So I'm going to just draw myself some borders. 1 millimeter from there, 1 millimeter from there, 1 millimeter, and I'm going to put a guideline on this line of the roof, and just for consistency I'm going to restrict myself to 1 millimeter from there. Cool. Alright, now how wide do we want the door to be? Now I made this house 30 millimeters along, so let's make this door 10 millimeters wide. So I'll go 5 millimeters this way, click, drag, 5, enter. There we go, we've got a door. So I can draw my door with a rectangle. I click on this corner. Oop. See how it went a bit crazy? Because it has to guess what direction it wants you to draw. That's why it's important to use guidelines and snapping points. Go to that intersection and we draw our rectangle. Awesome. Now I'm going to draw some windows over here. So I don't want to be right on that door. I want to be a millimeter away from my door. So I'm going to put a guideline 1 millimeter from there, 1 millimeter from there. Okay. Now, how far is this distance? I'm going to measure, that's 8 millimeters. I want my window to be a square. So I'm going to create another guideline 8 millimeters down. So I've got a square to work inside. And let's put a border around our window. Okay. And I'm going to make a cross frame as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some more guides, and should we go 1 millimeter on the window frames, or is that looking a bit thick? We might make that 0.5 millimeter. So let's go 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, and 0.5. Okay, so that gives us our window frame. Just going to zoom in a bit because I'm concentrating on this window here. Now I'm going to make a classic sort of a window look with 4 squares in each corner, so I need to know my mid point up and down. So let's go, that was 8 millimeters, so I'll go 4, or if I'm clever I can do the midpoint trick. I can find the midpoint by snapping. Cool. And I'm going to turn these into 1 millimeter thick lines by going sorry, 0.5 millimeter thick by going 0.25 that way, 0.25 that way, and then same here, 0.25, drag away, 0.25 there. Okay, now I can put in my rectangles. Put one in this corner. Okay, so now I'm actually going to show you a neat trick now. Instead of drawing 4 rectangles, imagine if we had like 20 of these things to do. It would take a while to draw them all one by one. So instead of drawing them, I'm going to select this rectangle here, and I'm going to use the move tool. This like 4 directions arrow is the move tool, and I'm going to move this square over into this spot in such a way that creates a copy. Okay, but to do that I really need to be careful. I'm going to move this corner, so I'm going to snap to this corner, and I'm going to move it so that I can snap it to this corner. Okay, I don't want to just move, like click it in the middle somewhere and then try to see how it doesn't really want to go where I want it to go. So I'll escape out of that. If I grab the corner, I can put the corner in that corner exactly, and that's what I want. And see how it's just moved it? I don't want to just move it, I want to make a copy. So on a Mac I click Option, and that leaves the original behind. You can just sort of see the original there, and I can click that one where I want to put it. Okay, now I've got 2 rectangles. I could do the same thing again and move that there, but again, if I had 50 of these things to do, I wouldn't want to move them one at a time. So I'm going to go back to my select tool, and I'm going to shift select both of those squares, get my move tool, click in that corner, and I'm going to move this corner down to this corner, and that should move both of these squares down to here, and then I can make them a copy. Press Option. I'm not too sure what the button for that would be on a Windows machine, possibly Alt or Control, probably not Control because that's usually Command on a Mac. I'm sure if you did a bit of searching or a bit of experimenting on that little area on your keyboard there, you'd figure that out pretty quick. And I'm just going to drop that there. Okay, now I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to copy all 4 from my window over here, actually I don't have any window over there, so I'm actually going to select that entire window, and I should be able to drag this corner over to that corner, and that should be right. So I get my select tool, see if I can select all of that window. Very good. Move tool, click the corner, click Option or Alt to make it a copy, and then go whack it in that corner there, and now I've got two windows. Fantastic. Alright, now I've got rather a lot of guidelines to get rid of, so rather than click delete, click delete, click delete, actually let's see if we can select them like this. Does that work? Oh, look at that. So if you drag down this way in that direction, it does a looks like it's for selecting objects that you've drawn. Let's see what happens if I do this way on my, okay, so sort of clicks everything, selects everything. So I can select all these guides with a up and to the left direction. Press delete, delete. There you go. Okay, that's looking pretty good, but just one little thing, I might like this roof to look a bit more separate to the rest of the house. So I'll grab a pencil and I'll just draw a nice line from there to there. Now you might be thinking, why didn't I just leave that line there when I pushed the original flat drawing up? If I had done that, that would have created two things next to each other, not one solid 3D object. It would have had a break in the middle, and that's going to create problems with 3D printing. At the best, it's going to have two separate things next to each other that aren't going to want to print well. It's going to try and print two separate things that might snap apart. It's not going to be strong, or at the worst, it might make an error and it might not want to print it at all. So we always want to extrude one object on one surface and then make alterations on other layers if you want to do other things on other levels. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start making some alterations. Oh, actually, one more little step. I don't want just a border of my door. I want a frame. I want a door frame. So I could get some guidelines out, make my corners, draw another rectangle, but there's another neat trick that we can do. Under the little section where our push tool is, we've got an offset tool, and we can select the surface which has the border we want to offset, and then click, and then it offsets that edge at whatever distance we want. So I created the windows at a 0.5 millimeter frame, so I'm going to make a 0.5 millimeter offset, and there we go. That was nice and quick. Didn't have to mess around with any nasty guidelines. They can get a little bit tedious, but that was really cool that I found that selecting, whoops, with the select tool, selecting this way, you can select all your guides and delete them all at once. I didn't actually know that before. That's really cool. Now, last thing that's missing is we need a doorknob. Obviously we need a doorknob, so we'll put it in the middle this way. So let's find that midpoint there, and I'll zoom in a bit. How far away should we make our doorknob? About a millimeter. Doorknobs are generally pretty well on the edge of the door. Okay, and a doorknob, we want a circle. So over where our rectangle tool is, we'll grab a circle tool, and I'll start from the midpoint, and I can drag out and create a circle. Now for circles, we have to type in the radius that we want. The radius is, see that part of the circle that's green there? It's only half of the distance across. So the whole distance across is diameter. Half of the distance from the midpoint to the edge is the radius, and we need to type in the radius. So that was what we made that. That's a 1 millimeter from the edge. So let's half that distance. Let's make it a 0.5 radius. Ooh, number's too large. No, it's not. Okay, I did anyway. Good. So that's a 0.5 radius, which is a 1 millimeter diameter circle there for our doorknob. Let's grab our eraser tool so we can do a one-click erase of our guidelines. Erase that guideline. Very good. Okay, now we're ready to start extruding our details. So I like doing extruding so that you can see it going up. I think it looks cool, and it helps Sketchup to know what you want to do. Okay, now the extrude tool was in here where I changed to offset, so I'll go back to extrude, and I want to extrude all these features a millimeter. So let's pop that frame up actually no, a millimeter looks too big. Let's go, the frames are all 1/2 millimeter thick, so we'll go 1/2 millimeter high. Yeah, that looks much better. We'll do our door frame. We can do 0.5, enter. And we can also do this neat trick. If I want to extrude this door knob handle, and if I go out and hover my mouse over another edge, see how it's extruding that door handle up to the same level as this edge. So let's do that with the rest. We'll click that and then hover over that edge there, that surface, because that's how far I want to extrude, and we'll match the roof. Whoop, there we go. So now we've got a nice raised little bit of roof and some raised detail on our windows and doorknob. And one last little thing, see these little lines here? That looks to me like something that might confuse our 3D printer. Now that line doesn't need to be there. It's just come out because that used to be pressing up against this intersection, so it thinks we want a line there, but we don't. So we can safely delete that one. Just delete that one, just in case it creates a problem. You do just need to be a bit careful with SketchUp when doing 3D models for printing, just to make sure that everything's neat and tidy. If there's messy things like those little lines and extruded things that are pushing up against each other, it tends not to like it. So you just want to be nice and neat and tidy. Oop, I don't want move, I want orbit. Gonna rotate that back around again. And there we go. We've got a nice little house with some nice detail in it. It looks much more housey than just a flat thing. I really like how that having that roof separation really makes it look like a separate roof rather than one flat plane. And there you go. So in actual fact, I've already printed my little house. Here's one I prepared earlier. Ooh, there he is. And it looks kind of neat. You can see the diagonal lines on the roof where the printer goes across to create the layer. And you can sort of even see through the top layer, you can see those hexagonal shapes. You can see it a bit better on the back. But hold at the back, you can see that hexagonal pattern. That's the infill. So it's not completely solid. It's just got those hexagonal structures to give it strength, but so we don't have to use piles and piles of filament to fill up their little 3D model. Now those little edges there, they're called brims, and we'll go on about those a bit more when we talk about the settings and how to actually print our 3D model. But for now, that's how you design something pretty quick and easy on SketchUp. Oh, and how about one more little thing? What you will need though, go back to our model, you can save it and give it a name. I won't do that because I've already done it. And you can go to here, and what we need to download our STL file. The STL file is what you need to give to the slicer software. That's the software that prepares the model for the printer to turn it into something that it can print. And we'll go over that in more detail, but that's the last step. Once you're happy with your model, save it so you have it for later, but also you need to download STL, and then there you go, it downloads it. Okay, and that is about it. So there you are. That's our first 3D modeling lesson using SketchUp. Go ahead and create your own account, have a little bit of a play around. The best way to learn something new is just to dive in, have a go at using all those tools, and maybe even experimenting with some other ones you haven't seen me use. You never know, you might figure out something neat, and have fun. Thanks for watching. Bye.